The stars seemed unusually bright from the observation deck of the UES Defiant. Admiral Susan Wright stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her gray-streaked hair pulled into a severe bun that matched her demeanor. The massive orbital dock extended around the flagship like a protective cocoon, engineers and technicians swarming over its gleaming hull, making final adjustments to the quantum absorption panels that would, if all went according to plan, render the most powerful warship in human history nearly invisible to enemy sensors. "Status report," she said, not turning from the viewport. Commander Jackson approached tablet in hand. "Final calibrations on the quantum shield are complete, Admiral. All stealth satellites are in position. The underwater bases in the Mariana Trench and South Pacific have reported green status. Desert installations in the Sahara and Gobi are fully operational and camouflaged." Susan nodded. "And the Jupiter gravity traps?" "Dr. Carter reports all wormhole generators are functioning at optimal capacity. Simulations show 98.7% effectiveness against known Galactic Empire propulsion systems." For decades, Earth had watched and learned as the Galactic Empire expanded across neighboring star systems. They had seen how the Empire operated, identify resource-rich worlds, demand submission, exploit resources, install puppet governments. And Earth, blue jewel of the solar system, resource-rich and strategically positioned, would eventually attract their attention. But humanity would not be caught unprepared. After first detecting Empire scout ships at the edge of the solar system 15 years ago, the United Earth government had initiated Project Porcupine, a comprehensive defensive strategy based on the simple premise that the best defense combined invisibility with the ability to strike back when provoked. Like the humble porcupine, Earth would appear unassuming until threatened, then reveal itself to be covered in painful quills. In the Presidential Command Center deep beneath Geneva, President Olivia Martinez reviewed the latest intelligence briefings. Tall and commanding with sharp dark eyes that missed nothing, she had guided Earth's preparations with steady determination since taking office 7 years ago. "The stealth field around Neptune is holding," reported General Rodriguez. "Empire scout ships have passed through the outer system 3 times in the past month without detecting our monitoring platforms." "And they still believe we're a pre-FTL civilization?" the President asked. "Yes, Madam President. Our disinformation campaign has been effective. Their scouts have only detected our commercial space traffic between Earth, Luna, and Mars. The Deep Space Fleet remains hidden behind Jupiter, and all military installations employ full-spectrum cloaking." Martinez nodded. "Good. Dr. Carter, how is the quantum shield progressing?" Dr. Alan Carter, architect of Earth's most crucial defensive technology, adjusted his glasses nervously. Brilliant, but perpetually anxious, he had spent the last decade perfecting a planetary defense system unlike any in known space. "Final tests are exceeding expectations, Madam President. The shield doesn't just absorb energy weapons it stores, and redirects that energy, effectively turning the enemy's firepower against them. We've deployed the satellite network in a 3-layer configuration that would allow us to protect not just Earth, but Mars and Luna as well if necessary." "And the stealth fighters?" "The Ghost Squadron is fully operational," General Rodriguez answered. 120 craft each, equipped with gravity web projectors and phase disruptors. They can deploy from hidden bases on the far side of the Moon in under 7 minutes. President Martinez stood and walked to the large holographic display showing the solar system. "Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before climate collapse in the 21st century. The asteroid impacts of 2079, the Great Famine of 2103. Each time we've adapted and emerged stronger." Her voice grew hard. "We will not become slaves to an empire of alien oppressors. We will not surrender our resources or our freedom." The room fell silent as military and civilian leaders absorbed her words. "If when they come," she continued, "we will be ready." None of them realized how soon her words would be tested. On May 20, 2257, at or 427 hours, UTC Deep Space Monitoring Stations detected a gravimetric distortion at the edge of the solar system. Within minutes, 5 Empire warships dropped out of hyperspace and moved with deliberate speed toward Earth. Alarm protocols activated instantly across the planet. In the command center, President Martinez was awakened from sleep, briefed, and operational within 12 minutes. "They've bypassed our outer system sentries," Admiral Wright reported via secure holographic link from the Defiant. 5 Dominion-class cruisers approaching Earth directly. No attempt at stealth. They want us to see them coming. "A show of force," Martinez said grimly. "Typical Empire tactics, shock and awe to prompt immediate capitulation." "Do we activate the quantum shield?" asked the defense minister. Martinez shook her head. "Not yet. Let them think we're defenseless, a little longer. Order all visible military assets to stand down. Make it look like we're paralyzed with fear. And the Defiant. Maintain position on the dark side of the moon. Alert Ghost Squadron to prepare for possible deployment, but hold until my command." Within 2 hours, the 5 Empire warships had established orbit around Earth, their massive hulls visible to the naked eye from the surface, dark shadows, passing across major cities in a calculated display of dominance. Global news networks broadcast panicked reports as governments worldwide deferred to the United Earth emergency protocols. Civilians were ordered to remain indoors as a precaution, though carefully controlled information leaks ensured most understood this was part of a coordinated response plan, rather than genuine panic. At precisely noon, UTC, all global communications were interrupted by a broadcast originating from the lead Empire vessel. Ambassador Zorkthal appeared on screens worldwide, a tall, imposing figure with gray-blue skin, elongated features, and eyes that seemed to glow with internal light. The translator systems converted his speech to all Earth languages simultaneously. "People of Terra," he began using the Empire's designation for Earth. "I bring greetings from the Galactic Empire rulers of 7,000 star systems and protectors of civilized space. Your world has been evaluated and found worthy of incorporation into our benevolent dominion." The message continued outlining the Empire's demands. Earth would surrender 40% of all natural resources, provide 10 million humans for labor forces, and replace its government with an imperial governor who would oversee Earth's transition to galactic citizenship. "You have 24 hours to prepare your acceptance," Zorkthal concluded. "Resistance is inadvisable and would result in regrettable consequences for your population centers. We await your wise decision." The broadcast ended abruptly. In the Presidential Command Center, silence reigned for several long moments. 10 million slaves, General Rodriguez finally said, disgust evident in his voice. "They don't even pretend to offer a fair arrangement." "They never do," President Martinez replied. "Intelligence reports from other conquered systems suggested this would be their approach." She straightened her shoulders. "Open a channel to the Empire flagship." Within minutes, Ambassador Zorkthal's image appeared on the command center's main screen. "President Martinez," he said, slight surprise showing in his expression. "I expected your response tomorrow, after your leaders had time to recognize the futility of any course but acceptance." Martinez stood tall, her expression resolute. "Ambassador Zorkthal, I speak as the unified voice of humanity. We have received your demands and considered them carefully." She paused, allowing tension to build. "We refuse. The people of Earth will not surrender their resources, their fellow humans, or their right to self-governance." Zorkthal's expression darkened. "This response is unwise and uninformed. You cannot comprehend the consequences." "Let me be perfectly clear," Martinez interrupted. "You will remove your vessels from Earth orbit and exit all Terran-controlled space within 48 hours, or you will face consequences of your own." The ambassador's mouth opened slightly, then closed in a thin line. "You have no understanding of the power you challenge. We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours." "Perhaps," Martinez replied evenly. "But they weren't human. 48 hours, Ambassador. Then we will demonstrate exactly what challenging humanity means." She signaled for the transmission to end. In orbit aboard the Empire flagship, Dominant Will Ambassador Zorkthal turned to Admiral Drulsk, the fleet commander. "Primitive arrogance," Zorkthal hissed. They have no planetary defense system, no significant space fleet. Their most advanced weapons are crude nuclear devices and primitive energy weapons. Admiral Drulsk, a veteran of 17 planetary subjugations, nodded his massive head. Their resistance will crumble at the first demonstration of force. Standard protocol suggests a limited strike on an uninhabited area, followed by targeting of military installations, if they persist. Agreed. Select a target, perhaps one of their polar regions. Minimal population, maximum visible impact. Neither of them suspected that every word they spoke was being monitored by stealth drones deployed the moment their ships entered orbit. In the command center beneath Geneva, Martinez listened to the translated conversation with grim satisfaction. They're proceeding exactly as expected, she noted. Admiral Wright is the Defiant ready to emerge. The Admiral's hologram nodded sharply. Ready on your command, Madam President. Ghost Squadron is prepped for immediate deployment. Dr. Carter is standing by to activate the quantum shield at your signal. Very good. Martinez turned to her assembled advisors. Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake about what happens next. Once we reveal our defensive capabilities, there is no turning back. The Empire will recognize us as a threat, rather than merely an opportunity. They will return with greater force. With respect, Madam President, General Rodriguez said, they were always going to see us as a threat eventually. Better to fight on our terms with our preparations in place. Martinez nodded. I agree. But everyone should understand this is only the beginning. She looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes in turn. Operation Porcupine is authorized. May history remember that humanity did not start this conflict, but we certainly intend to finish it. The 48-hour deadline passed with no withdrawal of Empire ships. Instead, as Earth's intelligence had predicted, the lead vessel positioned itself over Antarctica and powered up its main weapons array. They're preparing to fire, reported the sensor officer on the Defiant. Energy readings consistent with a Class 4 plasma cannon. Admiral Wright nodded calmly. Right on schedule. Signal Dr. Carter activate the quantum shield. All hands prepare for emergence maneuvers. The Empire ship fired, sending a brilliant beam of superheated plasma toward Earth's surface. Had it struck, it would have melted a 5-kilometer section of ice shelf, causing catastrophic sea level rises across the globe within days. But the beam never reached its target. Instead, 10 kilometers above Earth's atmosphere, the previously invisible quantum shield flared to brilliant blue life. The plasma stream struck the energy field and seemed to disappear entirely. On the dominant will alarms blared. Impossible! Admiral Drulsk shouted. Sensors detect an energy field surrounding the entire planet. Our attack was completely absorbed. More concerning, his science officer added, voice shaking. The energy field is building power. It appears to be redirecting our own attack energy. Before they could react further, the quantum shield pulsed, and a blue beam exactly twice the power of their original attack lanced upward, striking the dominant will with devastating precision. The ship's shields flared and partially collapsed under the unexpected assault. At the same moment, the UES Defiant emerged from behind the moon, its massive form suddenly appearing on Empire sensors as its stealth systems deactivated. Emergence complete, reported the Defiant's tactical officer. We have weapons lock on all 5 enemy vessels. Deploy Ghost Squadron, Admiral Wright ordered. Standard containment formation. Across the lunar surface, hidden hangar doors slid open, and 120 sleek fighters rose silently into space, their advanced stealth systems making them nearly invisible, until they activated their gravity web projectors simultaneously. The Empire ships suddenly found themselves surrounded by a complex web of localized gravity distortions, effectively immobilizing them while the Defiant approached. Open a channel to the dominant will, Admiral Wright commanded. Admiral Drulsk's furious face appeared on screen. What trickery is this? You were supposed to be primitives. Wright allowed herself a small smile. A common misconception. We've been observing your Empire's tactics for decades, Admiral. Did you really think we wouldn't prepare? This resistance is futile, Drulsk growled. You may have surprised us with hidden technology, but the Empire commands thousands of warships. When word of this reaches the Imperial Center— It already has, Wright interrupted. We've been broadcasting this entire encounter on frequencies we know your long-range communications use. Your superiors are watching your failure in real time. This was in fact a bluff, but one that struck its mark. Drulsk's expression flickered with the first hint of fear. You have two options, Wright continued. Withdraw immediately from our solar system, or we will demonstrate exactly how many other surprises we've prepared. For a tense moment, it seemed Drulsk might choose to fight. Then a voice off-screen spoke urgently, and his expression changed. We will withdraw to assess this unexpected development, he said stiffly. But make no mistake, humans. The Empire does not tolerate defiance. And humanity does not tolerate threats to our sovereignty, Wright replied. Remember that when you report back to your superiors. The channel closed. Within minutes, the Empire ships began disengaging, their engines glowing as they prepared to depart. They're running, commented Commander Jackson with satisfaction. For now, Wright cautioned, but they'll be back and in much greater numbers. In the Presidential Command Center, Martinez watched the Empire retreat with measured relief. Phase 1 complete, she noted. But Admiral Wright is right. They'll return with overwhelming force once they've analyzed our defenses. How long do we have? Asked the defense minister. Intelligence suggests 3 to 4 months minimum, replied the intelligence director. The nearest substantial Empire fleet is in the Proxima Centauri sector. They'll need time to gather forces, plan a new approach, and travel here. Even with their FTL capabilities, moving a large fleet takes time. Then we have work to do, Martinez said firmly. I want expanded production of stealth satellites, acceleration of the Jupiter Defense Network, and full deployment of the deep-sea bases. And contact our potential allies in nearby systems. The time for caution is past. If other worlds want to resist the Empire, we need to coordinate now. The withdrawal of the Empire ships brought a wave of celebration across Earth, tempered by the knowledge that a greater conflict loomed. For the first time in history, humanity stood truly united against an external threat. Former adversaries pooled resources and expertise with a single focus: survival. In underwater bases, hidden beneath the ocean floors, thousands of engineers worked around the clock, producing advanced weaponry and defense systems. The Mariana Trench facility, largest of these hidden production centers, extended 16 kilometers beneath the Pacific, its massive fabrication plants powered by geothermal energy and completely undetectable from orbit. Dr. Alan Carter divided his time between the quantum shield system and a new project even more ambitious: artificial wormhole technology that could disrupt Empire fleet formations and provide strategic mobility for Earth's defensive forces. The breakthrough came when we stopped trying to generate stable wormholes, he explained to Admiral Wright during an inspection of the Jupiter facility. Unstable, short-lived wormholes are actually more useful tactically. We can open one for 7 seconds, long enough for a missile barrage to pass through, but not long enough for enemy ships to analyze and counter. Wright nodded thoughtfully. And you're confident the network will be operational before the Empire returns? The Jupiter grid is already at 60% capacity, Carter confirmed. Full deployment within 6 weeks. The real question is whether we'll have enough ships to take advantage of the tactical opportunities it creates. Leave that to me, Wright replied. The lunar shipyards have been working triple shifts. We'll have the vessels we need. Meanwhile, Ambassador Kelly Peterson undertook humanity's most ambitious diplomatic initiative. Using stealth ships with experimental long-range drives, she visited 27 star systems that intelligence suggested harbored resentment against Empire rule. On Rigel 4, she met with underground resistance leaders in an ancient cavern system. The Empire took our world a century ago, said Lorvax, a resistance commander. They strip-mined our forests, poisoned our waterways, and work our people to death in resource extraction facilities. Yet you continue to resist, Peterson noted. We have no choice, Lorvax replied. But we lack the technology to challenge them directly. Your approach, this porcupine strategy, It gives us hope. If humanity successfully defends its homeworld, not just defends, Peterson corrected. We intend to push them back and help liberate worlds that wish to be free. But we need allies' information coordination, and when the time comes, synchronized strikes against Empire holdings. Similar conversations occurred across dozens of worlds, laying the groundwork for what would become the Free Worlds Coalition. Some species offered technology, others intelligence on Empire fleet movements, or sabotage of Empire supply lines. Together, they began preparing for a moment none of them had dared imagine before the first major defeat of the Galactic Empire. Precisely 87 days after the initial confrontation, deep space sensors detected a massive hyperspace distortion at the edge of the solar system. Multiple contacts, reported the monitoring officer at Luna Command. 217 vessels matching Empire signatures. Configuration suggests the 7th Fleet. In command centers across Earth, Mars and Luna alert statuses shifted to maximum readiness. The moment they had prepared for had arrived. The Empire fleet, under the command of Grand Admiral Vornath, emerged from hyperspace in a formation designed to overwhelm planetary defenses through sheer numbers. Unlike the previous encounter, they made no demands, sent no ultimatums. They came for conquest, not negotiation. But they did not find the unprotected Earth they expected. Operation Dark Water is authorized, President Martinez announced from the command center. Admiral Wright, you have tactical command. From the bridge of the Defiant, now positioned in the shadow of Jupiter's largest moon, Wright surveyed the holographic display showing the approaching Empire Armada. They've divided into 3 attack wings, she noted. Exactly as anticipated. Initiate wormhole grid. Around Jupiter, hundreds of previously invisible satellites activated simultaneously. The space around the massive gas giant rippled and distorted as dozens of small, unstable wormholes opened, creating a 3-dimensional maze that the Empire ships would have to navigate. Ghost Squadron deploy, Wright continued. Phase disruptors at maximum. Target their communications arrays first. As the stealth fighters moved into position, a second element of Earth's defense activated. Throughout the Empire fleet, subsystems began failing in seemingly random patterns. Weapon targeting arrays lost calibration. Communication systems broadcast static. Navigation computers miscalculated positions. Inside his flagship, the inevitable conquest Grand Admiral Vornath realized too late that his fleet had been infiltrated. Electronic warfare, he shouted, as displays flickered around him. How did they penetrate our firewalls? His chief information officer worked frantically at his console. Unknown Admiral. But the intrusions began months ago, dormant code activating now. It's in everything weapons engines life support. Vornath slammed his fist on the command chair. Override manual control on all critical systems. But the infection was too widespread, too deeply embedded. Worse, it was adaptive. Each attempt to isolate and remove it only triggered new variations. Earth's intelligence services had spent years studying Empire technology, planting sleeper viruses, and preparing this moment of maximum chaos. As the Empire fleet struggled with internal systems failures, Earth unveiled its true defense force. From behind, Mars, a fleet of 50 warships emerged, led by the Defiant. From Saturn's rings came 30 more. From deep within Neptune's atmosphere rose 15 specialized heavy cruisers. And from Earth itself launched 500 atmospheric fighters racing upward to join the defense. All vessels engage according to Tactical Plan Epsilon, Admiral Wright commanded. Jupiter Group heard them toward the wormhole nexus. Mars Division prepared to flank and isolate their command ships. What followed was not the simple subjugation the Empire had expected, but the most chaotic space battle in its 5,000-year history. Earth vessels smaller, but infinitely more maneuverable, darted between the massive Empire warships, firing precisely at vulnerable points, identified through years of intelligence gathering. Ghost Squadron fighters deployed gravity webs that trapped Empire cruisers in rapidly shifting gravitational fields, preventing them from coordinating or bringing their primary weapons to bear. The wormhole grid around Jupiter proved devastatingly effective. As Empire ships attempted to regroup, temporary wormholes would open directly in their path. Some vessels partially passed through before the wormholes collapsed, shearing them in half. Others found themselves suddenly hundreds of thousands of kilometers from their previous position, isolated and vulnerable. Most devastating of all was the electronic warfare. As the battle progressed, Empire ships increasingly fired upon each other, their targeting systems compromised by Earth's viruses. Communication breakdown meant no coordinated response was possible. What should have been an overwhelming force became a collection of individual vessels fighting for survival. 4 hours into the battle, with 30% of his fleet destroyed and another 40% severely damaged or disabled, Grand Admiral Vornath made the decision that would end his career, but save his remaining ships. "Full retreat," he ordered, his voice hollow with disbelief. "All vessels capable of hyperspace disengage immediately. Rendezvous at staging point Omega." As the remnants of the once proud Seventh Fleet limped away from the solar system, humanity celebrated its first decisive victory. But in command centers and strategy rooms, leaders recognized that this battle, while significant, was merely one engagement in what would become a much larger conflict. "They'll analyze everything that happened here," Admiral Wright told President Martinez during the post-battle briefing. "They'll develop countermeasures against our viruses, shielding against our wormhole technology tactics to neutralize our stealth systems." "Agreed," Martinez nodded. "Which is why we don't wait for them to return. The time has come to implement Phase 3. Phase 3. The most ambitious element of humanity's response to the Empire threat involved taking the fight beyond the solar system. With the immediate threat repelled, Earth's strategic position had fundamentally changed. No longer merely defending their homeworld, they now sought to challenge Empire dominance across the sector. The Free Worlds Coalition, which Kelly Peterson had helped establish, became the foundation of this new approach. Within weeks of the Battle of Jupiter, representatives from 28 spacefaring civilizations gathered in a secret location deep within the asteroid belt. "For too long we have suffered separately, under Empire oppression," Peterson addressed the assembled delegates. "They conquered us individually, isolated us from potential allies, exploited our resources, and suppressed our development. Today, that changes." The coalition formalized a mutual defense pact, information sharing protocols, and coordinated resistance operations. Earth provided advanced technology and tactical expertise, while other worlds contributed unique capabilities, local knowledge, and frontline resistance fighters. Most significant was the formation of the Starlight Commando's mixed species special operations teams, trained to infiltrate Empire facilities and conduct precision strikes against critical infrastructure. These small elite units would become the Empire's most persistent nightmare in the months ahead. Meanwhile, intelligence gathered from damaged Empire vessels, captured during the Battle of Jupiter, revealed the existence of a superweapon being developed at a heavily guarded research facility near Betelgeuse. The Nova Cannon, capable of igniting a planet's atmosphere, represented an existential threat to all resistance worlds. "If they complete this weapon, no defiance will be possible," Dr. Carter explained during a high-security briefing. "Any world that resists could simply be burned clean of life. We must destroy it before it becomes operational." A joint Earth Coalition strike force was assembled for what would become known as Operation Daybreak, the boldest move yet against Empire power. Led by Admiral Wright aboard the Defiant with support from Coalition ships and Starlight Commando infiltration teams, the mission targeted not just the Nova Cannon, but the entire research complex. The battle lasted 3 days with heavy losses on both sides. The decisive moment came when a commando team led by Frank Wilson, with crucial assistance from a defected Empire security officer named Craw, managed to breach the facility's central core and plant quantum destabilizers in the weapon's main power chamber. The resulting chain reaction not only destroyed the Nova Cannon, but collapsed the entire Betelgeuse research station, setting Empire weapons development back decades and demonstrating that no Empire facility, however secure, was beyond the Coalition's reach. The destruction of the Nova Cannon marked a turning point in the broader conflict. Across the sector, subjugated worlds began openly resisting Empire control. Supply convoys were ambushed, governors, assassinated garrisons overwhelmed by coordinated uprisings. The Empire, which had never faced a unified opposition of this scale, found itself increasingly unable to maintain control over its vast holdings, while simultaneously mounting an effective response to the Earth-led coalition. Supreme Overlord Xanthrix, ultimate ruler of the Galactic Empire, summoned his high command to the Imperial Throne World for an emergency council. "How has this situation deteriorated so rapidly?" he demanded, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. "One primitive world defies us, and suddenly our millennium of dominance teeters on the edge of collapse." Grand Admiral Vornath, stripped of his fleet command but retained for his first-hand knowledge of Earth's capabilities, stepped forward reluctantly. "Supreme Overlord, we severely underestimated the humans. They prepared for our arrival for decades, studying our tactics, developing countermeasures, building alliances. By the time we engaged them directly, they had already positioned themselves to challenge us on multiple fronts." "And your recommendation?" Xanthrix asked coldly. Vornath hesitated, knowing his words amounted to treason in the Empire's rigid hierarchy. "We must negotiate. The resources required to definitively crush Earth and their coalition would leave our core worlds vulnerable to internal uprisings. Already 17 systems have declared independence since the Betelgeuse operation." Silence fell across the chamber. In 5,000 years of Empire history, no High Command Council had ever recommended accommodation rather than conquest. After long deliberation, Xanthrix made a decision that would fundamentally alter the course of galactic history. "Open diplomatic channels with Earth," he ordered. "Offer a cessation of hostilities and territorial recognition. We will consolidate our position, strengthen our core holdings, and deal with these upstarts when the time is right." What the Empire failed to understand was that time would never be right again. The balance of power had fundamentally shifted, and Earth had no intention of allowing the Empire to regroup. When Empire diplomats arrived on Mars to negotiate terms, they found themselves facing not desperate supplicants, but confident representatives of a rising power. President Martinez, personally leading the Earth delegation, laid out terms that would have been unthinkable months earlier. Complete Empire withdrawal from all coalition worlds, recognition of Earth, sovereignty over the entire solar system, establishment of a demilitarized buffer zone between Empire and coalition space, and reparations for damaged worlds. "These terms are outrageous," sputtered the chief Empire negotiator. "The Supreme Overlord offers peace, and you demand surrender." "Not surrender," Martinez corrected calmly. "Coexistence, but on terms that acknowledge reality. The Empire can no longer simply take what it wants. The choice now is between an expensive, protracted conflict that further destabilizes your holdings, or a new paradigm where diverse civilizations determine their own futures." Negotiations extended for weeks, with Empire representatives attempting to maintain as much of their previous dominance as possible, while coalition members pressed for maximum autonomy. The final agreement, known as the Mars Accord, represented a historic turning point in galactic politics. The Empire formally recognized Terran sovereignty over the solar system, withdrew forces from 12 former subject worlds that had joined the coalition, and established protocols for non-military interaction between the power blocks. Most significantly, the Accord acknowledged the principle of self-determination, each world's right to choose its own government and alliances without external interference. Though the Empire would continue to exist, its era of unchallenged expansion had ended. As the signing ceremony concluded, Supreme Overlord Xanthrix's holographic representation addressed the assembled delegates. "For 5 millennia, the Empire has brought order and progress to the galaxy." He stated, imperial pride evident in every word. "We have lifted primitive species to the stars, established trade networks spanning thousands of light years, and maintain stability across diverse sectors. President Martinez rose to respond, her voice firm, but not confrontational. "Order purchased with freedom is always temporary," she said. "True stability comes not from domination, but from respect for diversity, for sovereignty, for the right of each species to find its own path. Earth does not seek to replace one empire with another. We seek a galaxy where no single power can dictate to all others." In the decade that followed, the principles established in the Mars Accord reshaped galactic civilization. The Free Worlds Coalition expanded to include over 100 member worlds, creating a counterbalance to Empire influence. Earth emerged as a technological and diplomatic leader, not through conquest, but through innovation and cooperation. The Empire itself underwent dramatic internal changes. Reformist factions gained influence, pushing for modernization and less authoritarian governance. Many outer systems received increased autonomy, and trade relationships replaced the previous exploitation model. Perhaps most remarkable was the transformation in interspecies relations. Centuries of Empire-enforced segregation gave way to unprecedented cultural and scientific exchange. Mixed crews became common on long-range vessels, with complementary biological capabilities, creating new opportunities in exploration and research. 10 years to the day after the signing of the Mars Accord, dignitaries from across known space gathered in Geneva for the dedication of a monument commemorating the conflict and subsequent peace. Admiral Susan Wright, now gray, but still commanding in her formal uniform, stood beside President Martinez as the memorial was unveiled. A massive sculpture depicting diverse species standing together, its base inscribed with a single phrase in hundreds of languages: "No species has the right to rule another." As the ceremony concluded, Martinez found herself approached by a familiar figure, Kra, the former Empire security officer, whose defection had proved crucial during the Nova Cannon operation. Now serving as an ambassador for one of the newly independent worlds, he offered a perspective few humans had considered. "You know," he said quietly, "many within the Empire believed conquest was the natural order, that stronger civilizations inevitably dominated weaker ones. Humans showed us a different path. Not just resistance, but a vision for something better. That is your species' greatest achievement." Martinez considered his words thoughtfully. "Perhaps, but I suspect the real work lies ahead. Building is always harder than fighting." "Indeed," Kra agreed. "But, for the first time in millennia, that building will be done by many hands, not dictated by one power." As the Earth's sun set over Geneva, casting golden light across the memorial, distant stars became visible in the darkening sky. Among them were worlds once under Empire control, now partners in a new galactic community. Others remained within Empire space, but were evolving toward greater autonomy and reform. And beyond them all lay unexplored regions awaiting not conquerors, but collaborative expeditions representing diverse species united by curiosity rather than hunger for domination. Earth's stand against the Galactic Empire had not merely secured human independence, it had fundamentally altered the course of galactic civilization, creating space for a future where cooperation might replace conquest and diversity of approach would be seen as strength rather than disorder. As night fell completely, Admiral Wright found herself alone at the memorial, tracing the inscribed words with her fingertips. "No species has the right to rule another." Simple words that had cost so much to defend, yet opened possibilities no one had imagined before humanity refused to kneel before Empire demands. The stars above seemed brighter somehow, as if reflecting new potential across countless worlds. The porcupine had shown its quills, and in doing so changed the universe.